We good. I see the thumb.
Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Missions Monday. And this is, as I promised, this is the part 2 to Pastor Shibley's missions origin story. I'm here with Pastor Shibley. I'm Pastor Renaldo, and we're talking missions with Pastor Shibley. And Pastor Shibley, I would kind of call this section of today's program more along the American years.
Yes, there's a lot of them.
Which is kind of where you kind of stood on the foundation that you laid overseas and the foundation that you got through Bible school and kind of shaped you toward where you are today. So let's start.
Sure.
We can pick up where we left off. You had pretty much come back from the mission field,
Yes.
settled in Bel Air, and take us from there.
Well, actually, I came back from the mission field in 1986.
Okay.
Before many of our listeners were born, I'm sure. But actually moved to Lenox for 1 year.
Okay.
At that point, and then moved to Springfield, Massachusetts, where I worked there I worked a full-time job, regular job. And then I worked also as the young adult leader. And I worked there teaching, just teaching in the middle school Bible in the morning.
Oh, beautiful.
Before I went to work. And so I was there for actually 6 years. And we had a great time. That's actually where I met Pastor Steve DeVries back when he was just Steve DeVries.
Okay.
And he had met our church somehow. I had been overseas. I came home, took a ride with the pastor to meet this guy that had visited. And we actually went out to have lunch with this guy. Turned out he was, a guy that was very interested in the church. And him and I became friends very quickly. And he joined our young adult group. And then, of course, Steve DeVries, 4 months later or so, I'm on my way back from Guatemala and called my wife from Miami. And she says, "You'll never guess what's going on." I said, "What?" "Steve's going to China."
Oh, wow.
And it was like amazing. And that's how Steve DeVries. So he was in our group for actually a very short time, I think from September on till January or February, and then he went off to China, and then the rest is history on Pastor Steve DeVries. And so at that point in 1993, I was very moved to come here to Baltimore. It's an interesting story. I think I mentioned to my wife, Pastor Shibley had been at our house, done a Bible study, and I saw these videos of Ghana that were just like blowing me away. All these men being ordained and graduating from Bible college. I'm like, man, that is like awesome. And I said, I want to be part of it more.
Okay.
Like we were part of it, but I wanted to be more part of it. And so I said to Pastor Shibley that night in my house, in the earshot of my wife, "We're going to move to Baltimore."
Oh.
And that was a big mistake. I mean, that was actually very much the Lord, I'm sure. But I came home the next day from work. My wife had heard this. I came home the next day. And I am not kidding. We had a pretty big place where we were living. The hallways of the apartments, it was actually a house. We had the first 2 floors of the house. The hallways and the rooms were filled with boxes. And I'm like, "What is going on?" And she said, "Well, you said we're moving to Baltimore." And I'm like thinking, it was more rhetoric than anything, right?
Wow.
I was thinking maybe January. This was in July of 1993.
That's hot.
And my wife's thing was, no, the kids are starting school in
September.
Yes. And so I was stuck. And so
Wow.
we moved actually at the beginning of August of 1993. We came here and we got involved. I had a job, of course, and got involved in doing some things. Casey got involved with the women's ministry. I was helping, minimally, really. I was helping doing the baptism classes with Dr. Lewis and that kind of thing. And occasionally I would speak somewhere. And then we would do outreach on Saturdays when I could. I was working a lot of Saturdays. But, put our kids in school, had 2 more kids, and then eventually became the chaplain for the security group. and then did that for about 5 years. And when Pastor Schaller had become the pastor here, I let that go because I really felt he needed me. No, I felt
we all need to be needed. Come on now.
I felt that he, that I was being maybe used a little bit more in that sense, and I didn't want to, I just didn't think I could do both. But I was also still working full time, and so I just got involved with Pastor Schaller. He started using me, had me start teaching in the Bible college in 2005, and that same year in 2005, the Pastor Mati was here, and he began to start the outreach in Silver Spring.
That's right.
Yeah.
Question for you, going back to you moving to Baltimore, what was the igniting factor that got you from just being, because a lot of times with mission, they come back from the field, they get jobs, they get their life resettled, trying to find my way, and I'm involved when I can, I'm available when I can be available.
Yeah.
What made you launch into a deeper participation? Because that's always the challenge.
That's a great question. I mean, I had a loyalty to the Springfield church because that's a church where, that had discipled me those first few months.
Right.
And they also supported me in France for 4 years. And I had a lot of friends there.
Okay.
And I mean, again, for me, church was my life. I mean, my family was up there, which is amazing.
Yep.
We got to see a lot of my nephews and nieces born and
that's good.
That kind of thing. And we, my wife got to really know my family at that time. And so that was all very good. By the same token, I knew that my calling was to be involved with soul winning and preaching the gospel and teaching the word of God. And so nothing changed in that regard. My heart was always toward the mission field. I think I mentioned last time, I wanted to go to, I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but when I went to Guatemala.
Yes, you ready to move to South America?
I was ready to move, right? And so that just didn't work out. But my heart had always been toward the mission field. I mean, what happened in 2005 was I did 2 trips to France, one with Pastor Schaller in January of that year. And I spoke at the conference up in Paris. And I was actually quite amazed that I was still able to preach in French. And then that spring, he was going to be doing a conference in southern France. But then he was elected to be the pastor of the church. And he asked me just to go. And so me and Terry Labar went. And we did it. And again, I spoke in French there and had a great time and had a ball. My daughter, Hannah, came with me and she had just turned 21.
Oh, wow.
And I had promised to bring her there when she turned 21 and I did.
That's a gift.
And that was amazing.
Parents for 21 years old. Who gets that?
Southern France. So
we
did go to Paris.
We get Coney Island. We get we get Towson.
Yeah. And I remember even then coming home and saying to Casey, honey, I got a great idea. I said, well, Kimmy's getting there. He'll be graduating from high school soon. Hannah's going to be graduating from college soon. I said, we got the 3 girls. And this was my pitch to Casey.
This is 2005.
This was my pitch coming home
from France
in June of 2005. I said, honey, let's bring the 3 girls to France. They'll learn. We'll put them in school. They'll learn French. We'll start a church in this one city that I was interested in.
Oh no!
I was pumped.
And
she said, "You have a great time. I'll be here with the kids."
Savoir fairs everywhere.
It was just hilarious, It just,
that's a stark difference.
Don't get me wrong, Casey's all for missions.
But the big difference is we're going to Baltimore. I got boxes in the hallway. I'm ready to go.
You're right.
Okay. Oh, we're going to France. Enjoy that.
Enjoy your trip. Yes.
Take pictures. Right.
So she was. It's not that she was against it by any stretch. I mean, she was.
Let's just say she wasn't led.
It wasn't practical for her at this time. She's a mom with 5 kids.
Young.
And I want to go globetrotting again.
Yeah.
And so it was pretty funny. And so anyway, I have been back to France several times, but I never planted another church.
With the whole French vision of let's go back. The kids can speak French. Have a few laughs in South of France.
Awesome.
take pictures,
Have a
postcards.
great time.
I'll come see
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
So she nixed that idea. Okay, so meanwhile, it's 2005. Now you're in the ministry. Now you're more involved. Now whether that would be more the ministry including you, or you being more available to be used, I don't know. But
I think a little bit of both. I think Pastor Schaller
Mhm.
also has this ability to be a discipler.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's a leader,
Mm-hmm.
and I follow the leader,
Mhm.
and so he is a leader.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, having that personal relationship with him and him being willing to spend time and invest in me, that was big.
Mm-hmm.
And that teaches me a lot about me
Sure.
investing in others as well in my church.
Okay.
And so in the fall of 2005,
Mm-hmm.
he started going down to Silver Spring on Saturday with Pastor Mati. And of course I went too. My daughter Hannah was at American University in DC.
Oh wow.
And so that was convenient.
Just
So
Northwest
I
DC.
would visit
Mhm.
her.
Mhm.
She was going to Anthony Stevens' church on Connecticut Ave
Yep.
at that time. And so we were meeting there in Silver Spring, and she was even coming on evangelism with us. And so I became a part of it. And,
Mhm.
and without realizing it, I kind of became Pastor Mati's assistant in one way. Pastor Andrew Lonis really, though, was.
Yeah.
And then Pastor Ron Swingle as
Mhm.
well. And then there were many others, Bailey Norman,
Mhm.
Justin Schaller, a bunch.
Mhm.
There were so many people. I remember like
Sure.
30 or 40 of us. And it became this thing where we were doing a Saturday night service, and then a Saturday night service, and then a Sunday afternoon service where
Mhm.
Pastor Schaller would come down. And then sometime, I believe it was in April of 2006, and the elders came to me and they said, Pastor Shibley, Pastor Mati's going to Turkey. And I'm like, what? How's that happen? What? Because he was
Surprise.
teaching in the Bible school. Yeah. And we want to know if you would be willing to lead the group there. And so I said, well, let me think about it, because I had been asked the prior year to take over the work in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And that also got nixed and I was okay with not going. But, distance wise, it's about the same as Silver Spring from my house and
That's
in
true.
Philly. And so I said to the elders, well, I've got to talk to my wife.
Okay, so we've learned a lesson here, Pastor. Okay, we are we going to France? No. Are we going to Philly? No.
What about Guatemala?
No.
No.
So we're talking to Mom. Okay, so now you went and talked to Philly. Was quick no.
Philly wasn't going to happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then so elders approached. Then you went and talked to Casey.
Yes. So in 2006, I talked to my wife, and I think it probably helped that Hannah was there in DC. I believe she had one more year of college. And she said, why not? But the thing was, she wasn't going to go down in the afternoons. And I mean, I was pretty tired too, because we were going church in Baltimore in the morning,
Yep.
church in Silver Spring in the afternoon, turn around, come back, go to church in Silver Spring at night. And my only condition to the Baltimore elders was if I can start a Sunday morning church. And that was the difference, right? We were doing Saturday night, we were doing Sunday afternoon. The majority of people, of course, were just a whole bus of people coming from here, kind of following Pastor Schaller and Pastor Mati and not following me later on, So that's what happened. And so they said yes. They took their time as well. And so I then really researched what I should do. And I had a strong conviction that I needed to rent a public school to have services on Sunday morning.
Why so?
Because I felt that the public schools are accepted by everybody, more or less. And that by having services in the school, it was a neutral territory. You're not like seeing a church building.
Sure.
You're not going into another church's building, that kind of thing. And so I did it. It took a while. It was very, it wasn't easy. I actually got in on the last orientation for 2006 for Montgomery County. And I went in for the orientation, I think some weekday, I forget what day it was. And I was, there, I talked to the lady. She said, well, the guy that, covers your area
Mm-hmm.
is not going to be available today. But, go to the orientation, you can make an appointment with them another time and that kind of thing. And so it was interesting. I went into the meeting and it was a lot of people because a lot of people were at the public schools. Everybody from, the Boy Scouts to,
Mm-hmm.
you know, Jewish community centers, everybody, for one reason or the other,
Mm-hmm.
mostly, but a lot of churches. And it was very interesting because the lady who was leading the group had to do the orientation. We had to fill out questionnaires and things like that. And she said, well, if you're here, by the way, looking for a church on Sunday mornings, you can just, a school on Sunday mornings for church, you can just about forget about it because there's nothing available. And I'm thinking, and I remember very specifically, and probably because I've repeated it so many times,
Okay.
I remember in my mind saying, lady, you ain't God. And I mean, I'm not like that kind of faith statement guy,
Mm-hmm.
but in my mind I am, you know what I mean? And so, we went through the orientation, then I went out to fill out the paperwork with the secretary, and she said, and I told her, that's when I said the Silver Spring thing.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, oh, yeah, he's not here. But then he walks in. Oh, he's here. This is the guy. He was his day off.
Oh, wow.
And he looked at me and said, you need a church? You want a school in Silver Spring, Pastor? You give me 5 minutes. I'll meet you in the conference room.
Wow.
And you would not believe this, but we go in. He had a group in a school in our area that we wanted to be in. And he said, listen, they have not been paying their rent. I'm kicking them out. Wow. When would you like to start, Pastor? And I showed him I said, well, I'm the first week of September. This was July. He's like, you got it. He said, I said, well, I got to check the place. He said, you go, I'll give you a day. Go check it out. So I'm in my car, like,
hallelujah breakdown.
I'm thinking, how am I going to pay for this?
That's the other side of it.
For one thing. And because it wasn't cheap. And then I couldn't find any elders to talk to.
Okay.
So I got Pastor Shibley on the phone. He was an elder. And I'm like, Pastor Shibley, this is what's happening. I said, what do you think? He said, what do you mean? What do you think? You got to do it.
Of course. You got to.
Just take it, do it, take a risk, just do it. I'm like, okay. And the church here wasn't offering like money to help or anything like that. So I called the guy back. I said, what time do you need me there tomorrow to sign the papers? And I did. And it was pretty amazing. So that's how that started. And so our first church service was September 3rd, 2006.
Mm-hmm.
And we had 17 people from the area, not team members, from the area. It was very interesting because when we were prepping for this, we knew the area now. Mm-hmm. So we canvassed the entire neighborhood. I mean, it was big. And we were every Saturday out there knocking on doors, inviting people to church, leading people to Christ. And some of those people were the people that came. Some of them didn't come again, but many more came. And they invited people, and that's how the church began to grow.
Well,
yeah, it was pretty cool. And I remember third or fourth or fifth service, I forget what it was. It was the smallest we ever had. And I brought a pastor from here down. Hey, come on, I want you to come down and see what we've been doing because I'm so pumped up, right? Mm-hmm. And I mean, it is 10 o'clock. That's when church started. And there's nobody there except the team. And it's about 20 after. And I finally said, you can start singing now. And I think 7 people ended up showing up from the area that day. And that was the lowest attendance we ever had.
Wow.
On our Sunday morning services.
Mm-hmm.
So it was trying to impress somebody. Yeah, that didn't work out real well.
It rarely does. Give me a mind to how you had to have a system or a plan to make this work, because all your church planning was really France. You participated a little bit in Baltimore and a lot actually in Springfield.
Yeah.
But as you're doing this American church plan and having done both, like we both have, it's a different animal.
I had a lot of help.
Okay.
And so now the original team of Pastor Mati, they were very faithful. They stayed with me during that whole time until I started Sunday morning services.
Okay, then you lost it.
At that point, they're like, "Hey, we're going to church in Baltimore on Sunday morning."
Yep.
I'm like, "I get it," you
Yep.
know. But I had this kind of new group from the Bible college,
Okay.
some foreign students.
Okay.
I had a group of guys like Bailey, had some guys with him. Justin Schaller had guys with him. And so at that time, we were still doing the Saturday evening outreach.
I remember that. Okay. Yeah.
And so that was at the Methodist Church, Woodside United Methodist Church on Georgia Avenue. And they had this cool old chapel.
Yeah, they had a stage and the whole thing.
Yeah,
I
it was
remember
a
that.
nice
That was
old
nice.
chapel.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
very nice. And so, and we used it for quite a while. We kept that up for quite a while. And what I ended up doing was turning that over to Justin and Bailey.
Okay.
I said, guys, I'll do outreach with you on Saturdays. We'll get her. But you guys, and I was there, but like you guys are going to preach. And so they started doing this thing. So we did that for a while, and then we ended it because they said, actually, you know, we like being better out on the streets in the evening on Saturday. And so that's when they began this thing. So Silver Spring downtown was not as developed now.
Okay.
So what is now the community center and then the ice skating rink and the plaza, Veterans Plaza, used to be this hill with AstroTurf.
Okay.
I mean, they literally covered it with AstroTurf.
Wow.
And people would come and hang out there and this and that next to the downtown area. And so Bailey and Justin started doing this thing on Saturday nights called Church on the Turf. And so they would literally do an outdoor thing with a bunch of young people.
Oh, wow.
And it was amazing. Those guys were amazing. And
Church on the Turf.
Church on the Turf. And people went out there. They did soul winning with them. And so they didn't necessarily come with me on Saturday morning, but then they would go on Saturday evening. I think Bales would stay there all day long.
Wow.
And he was pretty amazing. And so then Sunday morning church, and we set it up. And Pastor Ron Swingle remained my assistant at that time. Bailey was also my assistant. And we met in this little elementary school. It was hilarious. It was great. We met in their multi-purpose room.
I remember that. You guys were the quick change artists. You had that box van. You had all those things.
This was before the van.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this was when the school actually gave us a closet to put our stuff in, which was amazing.
You get storage on a rental. That's pretty good.
And then almost 3 years later, they were rehabbing the school. So I found out later that they typically do this. They send you somewhere else for the summer. And so I had a choice of places to go. And the only one that really worked out was Sligo Middle School.
I know Sligo, yeah.
And we went there. We had nowhere to put our stuff. So we had to rent we also didn't have offices at that time. We had to rent a storage.
Okay.
And so we did. We rented storage. And then we started having to move our stuff every week, you know. And so what ended up happening was it was in such a more central location on a fairly main road in between University on one side and Georgia Ave on the other. And it was like, and versus the elementary school, which was in this kind of area where there was a million one-way streets to get there.
Yep.
I mean, it was amazing that people actually found us. Of course, we had about 100 signs out on Sunday.
Yeah, you guys were. I wouldn't say you guys in Heaven of Grace were the first guys I saw with the yard signs all over the place.
Oh yeah, funny story about the signs. So the signs that used to say, you know, something very churchy like "Join us," you know, blah blah blah. Anyway, we had these 24 by 60 inch signs, and you know, it got pretty tedious because we had to put them in so many places.
I remember that. Yes.
They were white and everything. They were fine. They had arrow. That was the big deal, was the arrow to point people in the direction. So we had to get them on Georgia Ave, Veers Mill Road, Randolph Road, all throughout the neighborhood. I mean, there was a lot of signs. And Bailey, who is now Pastor Bailey of, you know, Marlboro, that was often his job. I would do it too, but it was his job really to get him out there.
Sign collector.
And one Sunday, he's like, Pastor Shibley, I mean, really, do anybody come from the side?
Nothing like outreach evaluation.
Right? And I'm like, Bales, you gotta stick with it.
Of course.
We gotta stick with it. I said, we gotta do. No, this is what we do. You know, like
Yeah,
one of
yeah.
those kind of speeches.
Yeah, that's
And he's a
Maria.
young guy.
Of course.
He's a Bible school student.
Yeah.
He's 21 years old, maybe 22
yeah.
years old.
Okay.
And so he goes out and do it. And it was so amazing. That day, and I'm not kidding. You can ask Pastor Billy. There were 7 to 9 people that all said, "Oh yeah, we would have never found the place if it wasn't for the signs."
Vindicated.
I was unbelievable that day. And he told me later, "I'll never question you again about that."
I'm sorry.
I wish he had questioned me on other things, but he didn't question me on that thing.
I'm sorry, my Lord. Next time there will never be a question ever.
And so the amazing thing is, those signs they ended up becoming bigger, 36 inches by 24
inches. When you get that kind of fruit, you got to go up.
And now they're and then they would say, what did they say? The second ones, they were black with, I realized black signs are better than white signs.
Normally.
Yep, because the white stands out.
Yep.
Right. And so, so they said,
black with white lettering. Yep. Go ahead.
Church here. And then when we had to redo them, I said, let's get rid of the here. And now believe it or not, I still use them to this day, even though we have our own building. And they just say church.
Great idea.
Church. And they have a huge arrow. They have our website, no phone number, and then the times of the services.
Nice.
Bam. Come on. So they do say Sunday.
Okay.
And so,
at least.
Yeah. And guess what? There was a time on our 10th anniversary. So my 10th anniversary service was fun. It was 10 years. We had no idea it was going to be our last 6 months in the public schools.
Really?
And we ended up, the whole service was very simple. We plastered it was a cafeteria at the time, which we made into a chapel. We plastered it with all my old signs. It was, and it was all about the sign, follow the signs.
Nice.
Follow the signs. And we had people stand up who had come from the signs, or at least had seen the signs and then went to the website or called or whatever the case was. And there were about 30% of our church members that knew us because of the signs.
Wow.
Some of those were just new people to the area. And they were Christians looking for a church. And we'll check it out. And so one guy, David Gonzalez, and his wife, Teresa, they're still very good friends. They were with us for 11 years. They're a Coast Guard guy. He's now in Michigan. And him and his wife came in. They were telling me, "Oh, Pastor, yeah, nothing against women." He said, "We thought because of your name.
Oh, no.
We didn't see your picture anywhere.
Oh,
We
yeah.
thought
Kim
it was
Shibley's
a
a
female
woman.
pastor.
Okay.
We really felt like we wanted a man pastor."
Wow.
But then we were listening to the message and said, "Wow, the assistant pastor preaches a lot." And, that's
his wife is liberal.
That's when they found out, and so that was always said. But the day that they said that, number one, I took my first name, Kim, off of that was because of my name.
Okay.
I took my first name, Kim, off, and I put my picture on the front page of our website, Pastor Shibley, just like that. So it's pretty funny. But that was one of those funny stories.
I like the idea of you being inventive and innovative with just church exposure and expression. I think sometimes our missions sit in communities and we kind of sit back a little bit. Besides confrontational evangelism, you sit back and you just wait for folks to come in, and you can be creative. I
spoke to a pastor years ago, and he asked me about that. And I said, well, one thing he was also meeting in a public place. They were renting, and they had to move in, move out. And so I said, hey, you're kind of off the main drag, but 2 streets over, there's a big main road. And I won't mention where it was or anything like that. And I said, you guys, you should do the signs. And I showed him some pictures of our signs, and he looks at me and says, yeah, but who's going to put them out? And of course, I'm saying, that's a great question, because I'm putting them out. Once Bailey was gone, I'm the only guy and I still put them out.
You're the sign guy.
My pastor, Pastor Dwayne Bryant, who got ordained in my church. He's been with me for 12 and a half years. His wife is my praise leader, Marilyn. Many of you have seen her singing on stage here. I met him. I loved putting the signs out, because to me, this is what I'm doing. I'm doing the gospel right now. Yeah. And so I put the signs out, and he said, Pastor, I see these signs. He walking by on Sunday morning. Pastor, nice to meet you. I'm Dwayne. And we talk. He said, I see you put these signs out every week. How's it working? And I told him, I said, and we explained to him about the church. And I mean, we talked. And then I saw him another time. We talked again, Pastor Dwayne.
Of course.
Of course. And so, so in June of that year, maybe 5 months later, I see him walk in the church with a woman and a teenager, and it's him.
Wow.
And it's his wife, and it's his son, and now they're all of a sudden they're part of our church. And then I find out later that she's a singer. I'm like, would you like to sing? And she joined the singing group, and
Nice.
eventually she became the head of our singing group, and she's awesome, Marilyn Bryant,
Awesome.
a Filipino woman.
So you've been in the church now. You're church planning. You're learning some things about American church planning.
And now we're in the Sligo Middle School.
Yeah, and now you're in Sligo Middle School.
And then we did rent a house.
Okay.
Some ladies had seen a sign not far on Georgia Avenue. We're on Dennis Avenue, Sligo Middle School. And about a mile away on Georgia Ave is this house for rent. So we check it out. Okay, let's see what we can do, because we have no place in the midweek anymore.
Okay.
I mean, we had the school, but it just, for some reason, the midweek wasn't working out well at that school, whereas it worked better at the other school. I don't know why. And so we made a deal. We rented this house on Georgia Ave, which is too much traffic. Very hard to get in and out, even with a car. But at that point there, we bought a van, 15-passenger van. I went up to Philadelphia, some rental place, and I found it online. I bought it on the spot, drove it home, got it inspected, and we had that thing for a lot of years. And we would just pack our stuff in the van. And we rented we rented a big storage, like one of those 30-footers. I don't know if it's 30 feet, but maybe at least 20 feet deep, 10 feet wide. And we would back the van in and just leave our stuff inside of it. And then this was before the house. I'm sorry. This was before the house. Okay. This was because we had nowhere to put our stuff. And so we backed our thing in there. And that's when then we added more stuff, and all of our Sunday school stuff. Everything was in the van. Then about a year later, we rented the house. And then we were able so then I bought a trailer. That's what you were talking about.
Yes, I remember the trailer.
You know, when you have, then we also had storage at this house that we had.
Okay.
And so this is the problem with having more space, is then you want to fill it up.
Yes.
Okay. And then I became very much interested in more things, more sound equipment, better. And it got better. And we created this big center, welcome center. We actually put up believe it or not, in this middle school, we put up every week a 10-foot by 10-foot tent, like you would see in a fair.
Wow.
You know, like in a market.
Okay.
And inside of that was our welcome center. And it said welcome. We had all this beautiful graphic. Thankfully, my daughter, Hannah, is a graphic designer, and she would do everything for us, even though at that point she was living in San Francisco. But, and then this was a big deal. And I've tried to find ways to build up the church to get them more involved. We got mugs with our logo on them and
branding.
And yes, branding. And when we set up this welcome center, we did it at the same time as we got the mugs.
Oh.
And we had this whole idea to welcome people in and then give them a mug and give them a welcome packet and all this. But I felt like, but all the people in our church that came, they never got a mug because we didn't do it then. Yeah. And so during church, we did a practice. It was fun. Okay. We did a practice at the welcome center, and everybody got to line up and everybody got a mug. It was a lot of fun. If they missed that Sunday, too bad. But yeah,
while supplies last.
While supplies last.
Wow.
Right? And so that was really good. Now the other thing we did during that time is much of my team over time dissipated.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it happens. Right. People
church planning
grow up. Yeah. They get married.
They go on,
things happen. But then it got to a critical time where it was really just Pastor Phil Walter, who was working full time, Pastor Ron, who couldn't get down there as often as he would like, me, who was working a crazy on the road 6 states job, and then not a lot of people. Even Pastor Bales had moved on, you know. And at that point there, I I was like asking Pat, what do you think I should do? Because I had a midweek service, I had a Bible school going on, I had Sunday church that I outreach on Saturdays, and not anybody to help me with anything.
Wow.
And so I made this radical move. Is I canceled the Bible school. I couldn't do it.
I got you.
Canceled the midweek service because I couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't have any help. It was impossible. It was really, really hard. Went down. Okay, what can I do?
Mm-hmm.
What can I do? So we ended up in a market in downtown Silver Spring. I said, well, if it's just me, we started this thing called the Outdoor Bookstore.
Okay.
And they would give me one free week a month. And then I paid for the other 3. I think it was $50 a week. And I would set up this 10 by 10 tent that I was using later in the church.
Mm-hmm.
And we bought book racks, and we started. So I couldn't do outreach in the market.
Okay.
That's where we wanted to do outreach.
Mm-hmm.
But I could have a bookstore in the market.
Well, okay.
And if people came into our bookstore, it was a tent, right? It's an open market. It was amazing. So this became a big thing for the church. Every Saturday we'd do the outdoor bookstore. It was brutal though. I mean, I would get up at 6 a.m. I would pack up have the van all packed up with all the books, have the tent in there, go down there, get it all set up. By 8 o'clock, we're rolling, and people are coming and looking at books, and I'm there oftentimes by myself. Then people would start showing up. And then people would make commitments during the week to do certain hours in the bookstore with me.
Oh, nice.
But I would be there from 6 a.m. until 4 p.m. and then go home and crash and then get up and go to church the next morning. But that was a way that I found that I could do just Sunday morning. So I was comfortable at that point. Now, this was years into it, right? We're 6-7 years into church planning. And it was kind of like maybe more than 6 or 7, maybe more, maybe 6 or 7, maybe 7. And I had to get comfortable with doing less because I said, hey, I am working a full-time, more than 50-hour a week job, and so, and I'm doing this church, and we've got people, and I got help from my church, but that really drew the body into soul anymore when I didn't have a team. And then that summer, I think it was probably that year, maybe 2012, 2013, I was preaching at the conference, and I met a pastor who was from Kansas City, Sam Miles, heard me preach. Okay. And we got to meet and talk, and he was telling me about his church. I said, man, I want to hear more about your church. So I said, I'm coming to your church. He said, you come anytime you want. So I actually, in the fall, I had somebody else preach, and I flew to Kansas City like on a Thursday and rented a car. Oh, no, I didn't rent a car. They picked me up at the airport. Sam Miles picked me up and brought me to his house. And I said, I just want to see what you're doing. And so I got to see for 4 or 5 days everything they do. He asked me to preach on Sunday morning. I said, no, I don't want to preach. I want to just watch what you do. And man, they did so much. Wow. I mean, their discipleship program was amazing. Everything they did was amazing. They actually started a Bible school later based on what we do. Right. But the one thing that I saw that I thought, well, this I can do. It was every week they had a prayer meeting on Tuesday nights. Couldn't do Tuesday nights, but you could do Thursday nights. And we had the house. That's right. And so I got back. I talked to some of the guys. I said, guys, I want to start a Thursday evening prayer meeting. So this is what we're going to do. It's going to be 1 hour. It's going to be from 7 to 8. We'll give a devotional in the beginning. Maybe we'll have some coffee, give a devotional. And then we're going to spend at least half of that hour praying. And so let me tell you, it was amazing. So people started coming. I mean, there wasn't many of us. There was 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people at the most at the time. Pastor Dwayne Bryant and Marilyn, they had become good friends. We're into it they've been with me now, I'm going to say for about 9 months. And I've started the prayer meeting. They prayed a lot with their family. They have international family. They're on the phone all the time. Dwayne's from DC, Maryland's from Philippines. And so Pastor Dwayne, he wasn't Pastor Dwayne at the time, he's Dwayne. He said, Pastor Shibley, right? You know Dwayne.
I do.
He's like, he said, I see sometimes that you struggle to get here on time for the prayer meeting. And I'm like, yeah. I said, sometimes I'm in Pennsylvania. I'm trying to fly down here to Silver Spring to get this thing going on Thursday nights. I can't control my entire schedule. I'm already taking all of Saturday off forever, which is terrible, but it is what it is, right? And and I'm working 4.5 days now. And so he said, my wife and I have prayed about this. You're going to run the meeting and everything, but when you can't, we'll be there for you. I'm like, wow. And so we talked about it. I said, yes. I gave him the key and it was amazing. And that was the beginning of his really growing into the minister that he is now. But let me tell you something that happened. That prayer meeting changed us.
Really?
Amazing. People started coming. I mean, more and more people started showing up and the church started growing and growing. I'm not saying that we were on a steady upward trend. We were like we have our mountains, and our valleys and our peaks. But I'm telling you that made a difference. So in 2016, we are into our 10th year. Got a good group of young guys. Got Dwayne. I've got a bunch of people. Had Brent Halinga with me at the time.
Okay.
We were still very close. We had been supporting Costa Rica for quite a bit because Brent was a very close friend of mine, and he worked with me also in Silver Spring before Costa Rica. And so we decided, hey, it's going to be 10 years. We got to start thinking about a building.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of churches are never in a building.
Yep.
They're in a school. They're in something.
Absolutely true.
And so we're thinking, well, let's pray about it. So we started talking about it more and praying about it more. Then I put a committee together of some of our Maxwell, David Wright, and some other guys, myself. And we'd say, okay, let's talk about this. Okay, we're going to present this to the church that we are going to start a fundraising committee. And, I think I had a lame plan, but I mean, it was the only thing that made sense to me at the time was, it's going to take some time. People are going to pledge money and we're going to start putting money aside. And because Silver Spring, Maryland is Silver Spring, Maryland.
Yes.
Nothing is cheap.
No.
I mean, we were looking at places to rent that were smaller than the place we were in, which was a school. And they wanted $10,000 a month.
Wow.
Right?
Yep.
I'm
crazy.
like, yeah, it's not going to happen. And so anyway, so in June of that year, we presented to the church this plan of money raising. And I got Maxwell up there. I got David right up. David Warrior's up there. God's going to give us $1 million in a year. It's like, wow, that's amazing. And so I get it. Now I get up. It's my turn. I'm like, yeah, I said, follow his faith. Don't follow my faith. Because David's got way more faith than I do. Because $1 million. We believed we needed $3 million.
Okay.
To get a property.
Silver Spring area.
Oh yeah, that was nothing, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm sure I was low. But anyway, so I mean, we started doing it. I mean, we had a little bit of action on it and all that. Well, fast forward about 5 months, and we are we're helping with a local food bank called Mid-County United Ministries. Pastor Larry White, who's now retired, he's in Arkansas and Alabama, I'm sorry. And so we were going for the last few years to help him. He had been at our 10th anniversary service too. And so after the 2016, then our 10th anniversary service was in September. Then we go to this fundraiser for MUM, Mid-County United Ministries, for food. And our group came to help them set up and break down. We just were volunteering. And so I'm there in the beginning, and Larry introduces me to this lady, Betsy Banks. And I'm like, hi. And Larry said, this is Kim Shibley. He's a pastor at a church, and I just was at their 10th year anniversary. They're meeting in the Sligo Middle School, and she is a funny lady. She's awesome. She looks at me and says, "You're meeting at a school?
Uh-oh.
We've got a church building that's empty in our neighborhood.
Oh, wow.
Why don't you check that out?" And I'm like, that was her intro to me, by the way.
Oh.
What? She never said hello.
Of course not.
Right? It was so funny. And so I actually got her information. Then I contacted her the next day. She sent me the guy's email who ran the place. It wasn't empty. There was a school downstairs, and there was a Latino church renting in the afternoons, but then it was open in the morning. And so I started building a relationship with this guy that was running it. And it's unbelievable. This is 9 months after we make the announcement that we're looking for a place. We are renting this place. I wanted a 5-year lease. The guy said 15 months.
Oh,
then we're selling the building.
Okay.
And I talked to my elders, and they're like, let's just do it because, we want to see what we can do. And then we went and we bought $5,000 worth of chairs to make it nicer. And we had an office there, and all of a sudden we're there. And it was like incredible. Like, this is what prayer does.
Amen.
15 months later, we bought the place. 2.5 acres of prime property in Silver Spring. And we've been there fixing it up, and church been growing ever since. Go ahead.
Amen. That's awesome. That's well, the American years ends with a bang.
Yeah. And so now, we've had a lot of new members. We had another church join us, who now the pastor of that church is my assistant pastor. We're both full-time, believe it or not, with the church. We still have the school down below that helps us in a lot of ways, and we work with them. We don't really rent our building out to anybody else anymore. We did do our own renting after a little while, and since then we've just been growing. So the church is doing well, and
that's great.
God is winning souls.
Amen.
So I've made this comment in my church many times from the pulpit, and I look up at the room. I said, "See, this room is meant only for the gospel."
Amen.
If the gospel isn't preached here, then we're not going to be here. And so that's it. We don't worship our building. We're just very thankful that we now have a property, and that we're the landlord instead of the tenant in that sense.
Amen. It's been great talking to Pastor Shibley, hearing his story here on Missions Monday. And part 2, listen to part 1 beforehand. You can get all the European years, the early years, and just see the thread of faithfulness of God all the way through, and God leading a family and leading a man of God in his call. So thank you for joining us. God bless you. We'll see you next time on Missions Monday. That's good. I was going to ask you your thoughts.